power would have stayed enslaved. I come from a tradition of someone like Mumia Abu-Jamal that the state is killing by not giving medical treatment, and he's still putting out commentaries from slow death row. Don't get caught up in people who speak a lot of hyperbole and rhetoric, have speeches that all they do is switch the year in the city. Be very careful about what's to happen in the next couple of years. To the entire staff, volunteers, and participants of NCORE 2015, thank you. Welcome to Chocolate City, as Black people call it, or the DMV area. And to any of my folks from Anacostia, right, or Maryland, Prince George County. I lived in Annapolis, it was crazy. For a year, I don't know what I was doing next to a U.S. Navy base. To the American Program Bureau, my Speakers Bureau, my agent, thank you for finally getting me to NCORE. Let me tell you, I met Bob Davis when I was a student booking speakers. And one day he called me and said, I think you have a gift. Let me get you a gig. And it was a $300 check, and I was the happiest person. And just super special shout out to some folks. My homie Paul Buckley, who's somewhere in here, possibly a longer homie, Echo King. These are both brothers that I met while I was an undergrad at the State University of Albany, a very special time in my life. Michael Benitez, Amir Omeka, and of course, my sister, Alicia Garza, who has brought, along with her other sisters, particularly Patrice and Opal, so many of us back to life, especially in my generation, when we let y'all down. And so it's just such a pleasure to have them in the room with me. Because we struggle, we struggle in these spaces, especially those of us in higher ed. And the only way to get through is to know that even when you don't see certain people all the time, you literally feel the energy of them pushing you to your next level and always supporting you. And some of these relationships for me go 25 years and began with my undergraduate college experience. And so all my comrades, friends, and my family, my sister, and my niece, they drove up from South Carolina to come see me speak, and my niece graduates on Friday from high school. So and to every worker in this room and in this hotel who deserve a livable wage, Houston said, "The Negro shall not be content simply with demanding an equal share in the existing system. There's no particular honor in being invited to take a front seat at one's own funeral." Bell Hooks recently said, "Make your home site a place of resistance." One of the greatest African scholars and historians, Dr. John Henrik Clarke, reminds us powerful people cannot afford to educate the people they oppress, because once you are truly educated, you will not ask for power, you will take it. Wow. Frantz Fanon, each generation out of relative obscurity must find its mission, fulfill it, or betray it. And our Shiro, our warrior, 90 miles away, and the U.S. can't touch her, Assata Shakur. People get used to anything. The less you think about your oppression, the more your tolerance for it grows. After a while, people think oppression is the normal state of things. But to become free, you have to be acutely aware of being a slave. I hope the words I speak this afternoon empower everyone in this room to become agents of change, agitators, freedom fighters, not reformists. We're seeking freedom at this point. We can only seek freedom as people of color because all we're getting is death from the system. Whether it's death row death, police killing us, intimidation by the state, detention, deportation, economic injustice. These are all state violence. We're so caught up in thinking that the only violence that we as this movement are talking about is the most egregious forms. The most egregious forms is what exposes the system of white supremacy. It is our job every day to expose everything that is wrong with the system of white supremacy, patriarchy, and capitalism. Right? Patriarchy, capitalism that seeks to destroy us mentally and physically. A colleague of mine at Cal State LA, Nana, said, "These aren't dark days. These are days of blinding whiteness." Wow. Even with this, some of us occupy spaces of privilege and have not been afforded opportunities that the majority of our people will never have. If we waste it, we have done a disservice to our collective history of struggle and resistance. As well, we would betray the legacy of every ancestor and fallen sisters and brothers all around this country. I don't want any more black, brown women, men becoming hashtags to tweet as we await not 28 hours now, but every 14 hours potentially when this new report comes out that the Malcolm X grassroots movement will be updating. Every 28 hours is where we have the research now. The question for all of us, especially those of us, people of color, whether we identify that way or identify, but those of us who do identify that way, in these higher institutions, predominantly white institutions, neoliberal institutions, what's going to be your sacrifice now that you've gotten a privilege that no one else gets? I'm a South Bronx, Black Puerto Rican woman, community organizer, journalist, and on July 6th in 2008 in Chicago, Illinois, me and Cynthia McKinney made history as the first woman of color ticket in American presidential politics. Most of you don't know that we ran, and you're not supposed to know that we ran. We had ballot access to 32 states, garnered about 500,000 votes. I'm proud to be the first Latina woman in American history to run for vice president. But as a Puerto Rican woman, whose nation to this moment is a colony under the imperial rule of the United States, a people who've been invaded, and when we fought back, assassinated or imprisoned, a people too who right now on the island are fighting for our independence. I come from a people who produced Don Pedro Albizu Campos and Lolita Lebron and Dulcia Pagan, Oscar Lopez Rivera, Luis Rosa, Rafael Cansar Miranda, the Young Lords Party, the Nationalist Party. Many more sheroes and heroes. I come from a people that on May 1st in 2003, after a 67-year underground and above-ground struggle in the US, the Navy finally left our beautiful Vieques, shame tail between your legs. I come from a people that the US military, as well as the government, has admitted to torturing, imprisoning, assassinating, sterilizing, colonizing, experimenting on. But I come from a people who are resistors. So with all the power and might of the world, they can't defeat us. They can't kill us, and they can't stop our want from independence. I traveled from the streets of the Bronx to the towers of higher learning, from the University at Albany to Cornell University, to now at UMass Amherst. I came of political age. I remember April 20th, 1993. This is the day I was elected to be president of the Albany State University Black Alliance. And let me tell you, it was brothers who were like, you need to run. I was like, run for what? I am not black. And they're like, yeah, let's go have that conversation. As well as my mentor, Dr. Vivian Verdell Gordon, who saw something in me that I had not seen in myself. I grew up intact family in the Bronx. Then we moved to Westchester County. I was born in the poorest congressional district and ended living from about 9 to 18 to the second richest kind of district in America. 20 minutes apart, two different worlds. And all I think is, what if my dad didn't hit that number? Back then we used to call them numbers. Like,